blood drips onto the stone arena floor. The entire academy watches in silence as Kane struggles to stand, his legs trembling beneath him. His opponent, a third-year student with blazing fire magic, hasn't even broken a sweat. This is supposed to be a simple combat assessment, but for Kane, it's become public execution. The ranking crystal above the arena flashes a sickly gray color. F rank, the lowest possible classification. Whispers ripple through the crowd like poison. Some laugh, others look away in pity, but most just stare with cold indifference at the boy who doesn't belong here. Kane's instructor doesn't even bother hiding his disappointment. The match is called. Another failure added to an already pathetic record. As Kane limps off the platform, someone in the crowd shouts what everyone's thinking. He's the weakest student Valdris Academy has seen in 500 years. But here's what none of them know. Here's what Kane himself doesn't even understand yet. In exactly 72 hours, he'll discover something in the bowels of this ancient academy. Something that's been waiting in the darkness for centuries. Something hungry. And when that moment comes, every single person who laughed at him today will learn what true fear feels like. This is the story of how the weakest became something far worse than the strongest. Valdris Academy sits on the edge of the Shattered Peaks, a fortress of knowledge and power that's trained legendary mages for generations. The ranking system here is absolute. Your magical capacity determines everything. Where you sit in class, who acknowledges your existence, whether you have any future at all. At the top sit the S-rank students, prodigies who can level buildings with a thought. Then A-rank, the elites destined for royal courts and military command. B-rank students become respected guild members. C-rank find decent work as adventurers or town guards. D-rank usually drop out and take manual labor jobs. E-rank are considered barely functional mages. And then there's F-rank, a classification so rare that most textbooks don't even mention it. That's where Kane exists, alone at the bottom of a very tall ladder. His dorm room is in the eastern wing, the oldest part of the academy where the heating crystals barely work, and the walls leak during rainstorms. He shares the floor with storage closets and forgotten equipment. Even the janitors avoid this section. Morning classes are worse than the dorm. Kane sits in the back corner of Advanced Theory, a class he technically shouldn't even be allowed to attend. Professor Aldrich doesn't call on him, doesn't acknowledge him, treats him like empty air. The other students follow that lead. During practical training, he's paired with training dummies while everyone else spars with partners. His fire magic can barely light a candle. His barriers shatter from a strong breeze. His enhancement spells make him slightly less weak instead of actually strong. Every single aspect of magic that should come naturally feels like pushing a boulder uphill. Lunch is eaten alone in the library because the cafeteria is social warfare he can't afford. The librarian, an elderly woman named Ms. Thorne, is one of the few people who still treats him like a human being. She lets him hide among the stacks and doesn't ask questions about why he never eats with the others. Afternoons bring combat drills. This is where the real hierarchy shows itself. Today's exercise is simple. Survive 30 seconds against your assigned opponent. Kane draws Marcus Stormwind, a B-rank student with lightning affinity and a cruel streak. The moment the instructor signals start, Marcus doesn't hold back. Lightning arcs across the training ground. Kane's pathetic barrier spell shatters instantly. He hits the ground hard. The 30 seconds feels like 30 minutes. When it finally ends, Kane can barely move. Marcus walks away without a backward glance. The instructor marks something in his ledger. Another failed assessment. Kane's already failed so many that one more doesn't even matter. He's on academic probation, one step away from expulsion. One more major failure and he's done. Evening brings the worst part. Mandatory duties assigned to underperforming students. While high-ranking students attend exclusive seminars and networking events, Kane scrubs floors in the administrative building. Tonight, he's assigned to the sub-levels, the deep storage areas beneath the main academy structure. He's given a mop, a bucket of cold water, and a list of rooms that need cleaning. The supervising instructor doesn't even look at him when explaining the task. Just points to the stairwell leading down and walks away. The sublevels are older than the main academy. Stone corridors lit by dim magical crystals that flicker and buzz. The air down here tastes stale, forgotten. Most of these rooms store outdated equipment and archived records nobody's looked at in decades. Kane works mechanically. Mop the floor, empty the bucket, refill it, move to the next room. His muscles ache from the beating he took during combat drills. His pride, what little remains of it, aches even worse. The fourth storage room is different from the others. Kane notices it immediately when he pushes open the heavy wooden door. This room is colder. The magical lighting here doesn't flicker like the other corridors. It pulses, slow and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. The room itself is nearly empty. A few broken desks, some water-damaged boxes in the corner. Nothing that would explain why the air feels thick here. Heavy, like the pressure before a thunderstorm. He's about to leave when his foot catches on something. The mop clatters to the floor. Kane curses and looks down, expecting a loose stone or piece of debris. Instead, he finds a groove in the floor, a line carved too perfectly straight to be natural wear. Curiosity pulls him forward. He kneels and traces the line with his fingers. It's not just one line, it's dozens of them, forming an intricate pattern across the floor. The dust and grime have hidden it from casual view, but now that he's looking, it's unmistakable. This is a seal. An old one. Kane's pulse quickens. Even an F-rank student knows what seal work looks like. The question is what it's sealing. He clears away more dust, revealing more of the pattern. At the center sits a circular symbol he doesn't recognize. Ancient script spirals around it. He can't read the language, but something about it makes his skin crawl. Against every instinct screaming at him to stop, Kane presses his hand flat against the central symbol. The seal flares with sudden light. Brilliant blue runes ignite across the floor, racing outward from his touch. The entire room illuminates. And then, with a sound like grinding stone, the floor begins to move. Kane scrambles backward as a section of the floor descends, revealing a staircase leading down into absolute darkness. Cold air rushes up from below, carrying a smell he can't identify. Ancient stone. Decay. Something else underneath it all. He should run. Should report this to an instructor immediately. Tampering with academy seals as grounds for instant expulsion, possibly criminal charges. But Kane finds himself frozen at the top of those stairs, staring down into the dark. A sound echoes up from below. Faint, rhythmic. It almost sounds like breathing. Something calls to him from down there. Not in words, not in any language. It's a pull. A sensation in his chest that feels like hunger, like recognition, like something that's been asleep inside him finally stirring awake. The rational part of his brain lists all the reasons this is a terrible idea. The stairs could collapse. There could be dangerous magic down there. This could be a test he's failing right now by even considering this. But that part of his brain is drowned out by something louder. Something that whispers this might be his only chance. Kane takes the first step down. The staircase descends farther than should be possible. The sublevels were already deep beneath the academy, but these stairs keep going. 20 steps, 50, 100. The light from the storage room above becomes a distant pinpoint, then disappears entirely as the stairs curve. The darkness is absolute. Kane's pathetic fire magic manages to conjure a flame the size of a candle. It barely pushes back the black, but it's enough to see each step in front of him. The temperature drops with each step. His breath becomes visible. The stone walls on either side glisten with moisture, and still the stairs descend. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, his foot finds level ground. The staircase has ended. Cain holds his tiny flame forward, and his breath catches. He's standing at the entrance to a massive chamber. His little flame can't illuminate the full space, but he can sense the size of it. The darkness here feels vast, ancient. His footsteps echo when he takes a tentative step forward. As his eyes adjust, shapes emerge from the gloom. Stone pillars rising into the darkness, carved walls depicting scenes he can't quite make out. And directly ahead, a passageway leading deeper into what can only be called a dungeon. Warning inscriptions cover the archway leading forward. Even though Cain can't read the ancient language, the intent is clear. Danger. Death. Turn back. The carvings show figures being torn apart by monstrous shapes. One carving near the bottom shows a person screaming while something dark consumes them. From the inside, every logical thought tells him to leave. Climb those stairs. Pretend he never found this place. But that pull in his chest grows stronger. That hunger. That sense of recognition. Cain steps through the archway. The passage beyond is carved from black stone that seems to absorb his meager light. He keeps one hand on the wall as he walks, using it to guide himself forward. The passage slopes downward. Water drips somewhere in the distance, and underneath it all, that breathing sound. Closer now. The passage opens into another chamber. Smaller than the first, but still larger than any room Cain's ever been in. And in the center of that chamber, illuminated by a faint phosphorescent glow coming from the walls themselves, something moves. It's small, maybe the size of a large dog. Its body is wrong. Too many joints in the legs, eyes that glow red in the dim light, chitinous plates covering its back. When it sees Cain, it hisses. The sound echoes off the stone walls. Cain's body locks up. This is a monster, an actual monster. They're supposed to exist only in the wilderness, in dungeons far from civilization. The Academy has entire courses on monster classification and combat. But those are theoretical. Cain's never actually seen one. The creature circles him slowly, assessing. Its red eyes never blink. Cain tries to summon his barrier spell. His hands shake so badly he can barely form the gestures. The barrier flickers into existence, a translucent dome of energy that wouldn't stop a thrown rock, let alone this thing. The monster strikes. It's faster than anything Cain's ever seen. One moment it's 5 feet away, the next its claws are raking across his barrier. The spell shatters instantly. Cain throws himself backward, hitting the stone floor hard. The monster lands where he was standing and immediately lunges again. Pure instinct takes over. Cain rolls sideways. The claws miss his head by inches. He scrambles to his feet and runs. Not toward the passage he came from. Deeper. Into the darkness. The monster's footsteps click against stone as it pursues. His lungs burn. His legs scream. The tiny flame in his hand goes out. He's running blind through absolute darkness with a monster at his heels. This is how he dies. Not in some heroic battle. Not defending something that matters, but alone in a forgotten dungeon beneath the Academy where nobody will ever find his body. Cain's foot catches on something and he goes down hard. His palms scrape against rough stone. He rolls onto his back and sees the monster's red eyes rushing toward him through the dark. He doesn't think. Doesn't plan. Just thrusts both hands forward and releases every drop of magic he has left in a desperate burst of flame. The fire that erupts from his hands isn't the weak candle flame he usually manages. It's a torrent, a wave of heat and light that fills the entire passage. The monster shrieks as the flames engulf it. The sound is terrible, inhuman. The fire dies as quickly as it came. Cain lies on his back, completely drained. He can't move, can barely breathe. In front of him, the monster's charred corpse smokes in the darkness. He did it. He actually killed it, with the most powerful magic he's ever cast in his entire life. the kind of power an F-rank student shouldn't be able to access. Kane drags himself over to the corpse. In the center of its chest, something glows. A crystal. A monster core. They're valuable, used in enchanting and alchemy. This one is small, maybe worth a few silver coins, but it's still more wealth than Kane has. He reaches out to pull it free from the charred flesh. His fingers close around the warm crystal, and the moment he touches it, something happens. The core dissolves, not slowly, instantly. It turns to liquid light that absorbs into his skin. Kane gasps as sensation floods through him. Heat. Power. A rush of energy that feels like lightning in his veins, and then the hunger hits. It's overwhelming, all-consuming, not for food, for more. More of that energy, more of that power, more of whatever that core contained. Kane stares at his hands in the darkness. Something inside him has changed. Something fundamental. He doesn't understand what just happened. But he knows. One thing with absolute certainty. He needs to come back here. He needs more. The strange thing is, even as that thought forms, part of him knows it should terrify him. That kind of hunger isn't natural, isn't right, but the rest of him doesn't care. Because for the first time in his life, Kane felt powerful. And now that he knows what that feels like, nothing else matters. Kane doesn't sleep that night. Can't sleep. His body thrums with residual energy from whatever happened in that dungeon. He lies in his narrow bed staring at the ceiling while moonlight filters through his cracked window. His hands still tingle, where the monster core dissolved into his skin. Morning classes are a blur. Professor Aldrich's lecture on elemental theory washes over him without penetrating. Kane can't focus on anything except the memory of that moment. The power, the rush, the hunger that came after. It sits in his chest now like a living thing, coiled and waiting. During practical training, something's different. His fire magic responds faster. The flame he conjures is noticeably larger than yesterday, not by much. A candle flame became the size of a torch. But for someone who's shown zero improvement in 3 years, any change is massive. His training partner, a D-rank student who usually ignores him, actually looks surprised. The instructor walks past and pauses, makes a note in his ledger without commenting. But Kane sees the confused expression, sees the question forming. He forces his magic back down to its usual pathetic level for the rest of the session. Drawing attention is the last thing he needs right now. Lunch in the library finds Ms. Thorne giving him an odd look. She asks if he's feeling all right. Kane realizes he's bouncing his leg constantly, fingers drumming against the table. Restless energy he can't quite contain. He mumbles something about not sleeping well, and she nods sympathetically. The afternoon drags. Every minute feels like an hour. Kane watches the sun crawl across the sky through classroom windows, waiting, anticipating. That hunger in his chest grows stronger with each passing moment. When evening finally arrives and the mandatory duties begin, Kane volunteers for sub-level maintenance before anyone can assign him elsewhere. The supervising instructor looks surprised, but doesn't question it. Nobody wants that job anyway. Kane descends to the storage level with his cleaning supplies. His heart pounds as he approaches. That 4th room. The door looks exactly the same as yesterday. Ordinary. Forgettable. He glances down the corridor to make sure he's alone, then slips inside. The seal on the floor responds to his touch immediately. Blue light races across the runes and the hidden staircase reveals itself. This time Kane doesn't hesitate. He descends quickly, his small flame lighting the way. The massive entry chamber feels less intimidating now. familiar almost. Kane moves through it with purpose, heading straight for the passageway where he encountered the monster yesterday. The charred corpse is gone. Nothing remains except dark stains on the stone floor. But there are sounds deeper in the dungeon. Clicks and scrapes and that strange breathing. More of them. Kane's hands shake as he ventures forward. Not from fear, from anticipation. The passages branch. Left or right. Kane chooses left and follows it to another chamber. 2 creatures wait, inside, slightly larger than the first one. Their red eyes fix on him the moment he enters. They attack simultaneously. Kane's prepared this time. His barrier spell, already noticeably stronger than yesterday, holds for precious seconds, enough time to launch fire at the nearest monster. The flames catch and spread. The creature shrieks and flails. The second one reaches him. Claws rake across his shoulder. Pain explodes through him, but Kane doesn't fall. He grabs the monster by its chitinous back and channels fire directly into it. The heat should burn his own hands, but somehow he holds on until the creature stops moving. Both cores gleam in the darkness. Kane doesn't even extract them properly, just touches them and feels that rush again as they dissolve into liquid light. The energy floods his system, more powerful than the first time. The wounds on his shoulder seal themselves, and the hunger grows. He doesn't leave. Not yet. There are more passages, more chambers, more monsters. By the time Kane finally climbs those stairs back to the storage room, he's killed. 7 creatures. 7 cores absorbed. His body hums with power he never imagined possible. The hunger is temporarily satisfied. But even now, part of him is already anticipating tomorrow night. When he checks his reflection in a dusty mirror near the storage room exit, his eyes look different. Brighter somehow. More intense. Kane blinks, and the effect fades. Probably just his imagination. The next morning, during the standard ranking assessment all students undergo weekly, the crystal above Kane flashes a murky green. E rank. The testing administrator stares at the crystal like it's malfunctioning, checks it twice, 3 times, because students don't jump ranks. Especially not F-rank students who've been stagnant for 3 years. The administrator makes several notes and tells Kane he'll need to be retested tomorrow for verification. Whispers, "Follow him through the halls. The weakest student just ranked up. It's impossible. Has to be an error. Some malfunction in the testing equipment." But Kane feels the truth in his bones. He's stronger, genuinely stronger. That night he returns to the dungeon. And the night after. And the night after that. His cleaning duties give him the perfect cover. Nobody questions why the F-rank failure wants to scrub floors in the sub-levels. They're happy to let him. Each night he descends those stairs. Each night he hunts. Each night he devours. The monsters grow stronger the deeper he goes. Faster, more aggressive. But Kane grows too. His fire magic evolves from torch-sized flames to infernos that fill entire chambers. His barrier spells start actually deflecting attacks. His physical capabilities improve. Faster reflexes, stronger muscles, enhanced senses. 2 weeks after finding the dungeon, the ranking crystal flashes blue. D rank. The testing administrator doesn't even try to hide his shock. Calls for a senior instructor to verify. They test Kane 3 times with 3 different crystals. All show the same result. Impossible has become reality. Word spreads through the academy like wildfire. The weakest student in 500 years just jumped 2 full ranks in 14 days. Theories multiply. Some claim he was sandbagging the whole time. Others insist he found some forbidden enhancement item. A few suggest he made a deal with a dark entity. That last one makes Kane's blood run cold. Because they're not entirely wrong. Professor Aldrich actually addresses him in class now. asks him to demonstrate a basic fire spell. Kane carefully limits his output, showing D-rank level ability. Competent, but unremarkable. The professor nods, satisfied. Just another late bloomer finally finding their potential. If only they knew. If only they could see what Cain does in that dungeon each night. The monsters have become routine. He's learned their patterns. The ones with chitinous armor are slow but hit hard. The serpentine ones are fast but fragile. The bat-like creatures attack from above but can't take much punishment. Cain has killed dozens of each type. His core collection has become efficient. Touch, absorb, move on. The hunger is constant now, a background presence that never quite fades. Even during the day, even in class, part of him is thinking about tonight's hunt. He's reached the 3rd level of the dungeon. The monsters here are noticeably stronger. C-rank equivalents. They hunt in packs and use basic tactics. But Cain's learned to fight smart, use the environment, separate targets, strike from advantage. Tonight he faces his biggest challenge yet, a chamber containing 5 monsters at once. Not the small chitinous creatures. These are hulking brutes with stone-like hide and crushing strength. The first one charges before Cain's fully through the doorway. He rolls under its swinging arm and blasts fire at its legs. The creature roars and stumbles. The others converge. Cain runs. The chase leads through 3 connecting chambers. Cain uses the passages to bottleneck them. Picks off the fastest one. First, then the second, then the third. The last 2 corner him in a dead-end chamber. This is where he discovers something new. The hunger in his chest flares hot. His hands move almost on their own. Instead of fire, something else flows from his palms. Dark tendrils. Shadow magic. The same type the bat creatures use. The tendrils wrap around the nearest monster and squeeze. The creature thrashes but can't break free. Cain doesn't question it, just uses the moment to blast the last monster with fire until it stops moving. 5 cores. All absorbed. The power surge is intoxicating. And more than that, the revelation. He's not just getting stronger, he's gaining their abilities. The chitinous creatures gave him tougher skin. The serpentine ones improved his speed. The bat creatures gave him shadow magic. He's not growing into a mage. He's becoming something else entirely. Back at the academy, Cain starts actively hiding his improvements. During sparring sessions, he holds back significantly, loses matches he could easily win, acts frustrated and tired when inside he's practically vibrating with restrained power. Ms. Thorne comments that he seems distracted lately, less present. She's not wrong. The dungeon occupies his thoughts constantly. Even when his body is in class, his mind is in those dark passages, planning routes, anticipating monster patterns, craving the next hunt. His appetite for regular food has diminished. He forces himself to eat in the cafeteria a few times per week to maintain appearances. But actual food tastes wrong now. Bland, unsatisfying. What he hungers for can't be found on any dining hall menu. 3 weeks after the first core. 1 month after discovering the dungeon. Cain returns from a particularly successful hunt. 14 cores absorbed in a single night. He's exhausted, covered in minor wounds that are already healing. His clothes are torn and blood-stained. He doesn't go back to his dorm. Can't risk being seen like this. Instead, he finds a maintenance closet in the sublevel, strips off his ruined shirt, and tries to clean himself up with a rag and bucket of water. That's when he notices his reflection in the water. His eyes are glowing, faint, but unmistakable. That same red color as the monsters. Cain blinks hard. The glow fades, but he knows what he saw. He's changing. Not just getting stronger, actually changing. On a fundamental level, the smart thing would be to stop, take a break, process what's happening to him. But when he closes his eyes, all he sees are those dark passages, All he feels is that hunger. All he wants is more. The monthly ranking assessment arrives, mandatory for all students. The entire academy gathers in the grand hall. One by one, students place their hand on the master ranking crystal. The results project into the air for everyone to see. When Kane's turn comes, he walks to the crystal with everyone watching. Whispers follow him. The late bloomer, the mystery student. What will he show this time? Kane places his hand on the crystal. For a moment, nothing happens. Then light erupts. Not the expected colors, a swirling mix. Green, blue, purple. The crystal can't seem to settle on a single shade. Finally, it stabilizes. Solid blue, C rank. The hall erupts, C rank. In 1 month, 3 full ranks. The testing administrator actually steps forward to physically examine the crystal. Checks for tampering, for illusions, for anything that could explain this. But the crystal is working perfectly. Kane really is C rank. Senior instructors converge. They take him to a private testing chamber, run him through extensive evaluations, combat simulations, magic capacity measurements, elemental affinity tests. By the time they're finished, it's past midnight. The results are irrefutable. Kane possesses legitimate C rank abilities, perhaps low C rank. But still, for someone who was F rank a month ago, it defies everything they know about magical development. They ask him questions. How did this happen? What changed? Did he find an artifact? Take any unusual supplements? Make any pacts? Kane sticks to his prepared story. He just started training harder, practicing longer. Something finally clicked. The instructors don't look convinced, but they have no evidence of wrongdoing. They let him go with orders to report for advanced monitoring. They want to study this phenomenon, understand it, maybe replicate it with other low-ranking students. Kane agrees to everything, says yes to every request, all while knowing he has no intention of letting them study anything. Because that same night, he descends to the dungeon again, despite the exhaustion, despite the warnings. The hunger doesn't care about his circumstances. The 4th level of the dungeon presents new challenges. The monsters here are B rank equivalent. Each one as strong as the students who used to dominate, him in sparring. But Kane's not the same person he was a month ago. He fights with a savagery that surprises even him, rips into monsters with fire and shadow, uses their own tactics against them. When one pins him against a wall, he doesn't panic, just grabs its throat and drains it dry. Not the core, the creature itself, watches its red eyes dim as its essence flows into him. That's new. That's definitely new. And it should horrify him. But it doesn't. The monster collapses as an empty husk. Kane stares at his hands. He just killed that creature in a way that has nothing to do with magic. Something fundamental. Something wrong. He pushes the thought away. Focuses on the hunt. 5 more creatures fall. 5 more cores absorbed. And with each one, that wrongness inside him grows. Takes up more space. Demands more attention. When Kane finally emerges from the dungeon as the sun rises, he realizes he's been down there all night, missed his dorm curfew, missed morning classes. In his obsession, he's lost track of time completely. He rushes back to his room through empty corridors. Most students are already in first period. He changes quickly, tries to make himself presentable, catches a glimpse in his small mirror. His eyes are glowing again, brighter than before. And this time, blinking doesn't make it stop. Kane splashes, cold water on his face, concentrates, forces whatever this is back down. After a full minute, the glow finally fades. But he can still feel it, right below the surface, ready to emerge again. Class is brutal, not because of the material, because of his own body. He's jittery, unfocused. That hunger has evolved into something closer to addiction. The rational part of his brain recognizes the signs, but the rest of him doesn't care. During lunch, Marcus Stormwind approaches his table, the B-rank student who humiliated him in their first sparring match. Marcus has an odd expression, something between curiosity and concern. He asks Cain straight out, "What did you do? How did you get stronger so fast?" And here's the thing. There's no mockery in the question, just genuine interest, maybe even respect. Cain lies smoothly. Hard work, dedication, finally finding the right training method. Marcus nods slowly, but his eyes are sharp, analytical. He doesn't believe it. Not completely, but he can't prove anything. As Marcus walks away, Cain realizes something. He's attracted attention, the kind of attention he can't afford. People are watching him now, wondering, questioning. The anonymity that let him disappear into the sublevels each night is evaporating. He needs to be more careful, more controlled. But even as he thinks it, that hunger pulses, demanding, insistent, telling him that control is an illusion, that what matters is power. And down in that dungeon, there's so much more power waiting. That night, Cain makes a decision. He'll go deeper. Find the dungeon's true depths. Whatever's down there, whatever created this place, he's going to find it. And when he does, he's going to devour it too. The hunger approves, pulses with anticipation, and somewhere in the back of Cain's mind, a voice that sounds less and less like his own whispers that this is just the beginning. The announcement comes during morning assembly. Headmaster Valen stands at the grand podium, his silver beard catching the light from the stained glass windows. His voice carries through the hall without magical amplification. The annual interrank tournament will begin in 2 weeks. Every student is required to participate. No exceptions. The tournament serves multiple purposes. It allows students to demonstrate growth. It lets instructors assess combat capabilities. And most importantly, it determines class rankings and resource allocations for the next academic year. Top performers receive private tutoring from S-rank instructors, access to restricted sections of the library, premium training facilities, scholarship opportunities, everything a struggling student could want. Everything Cain has never had access to. But that's not what makes his pulse quicken. It's the realization that he can't hide anymore. In 2 weeks, he'll have to fight in front of the entire academy, show his real capabilities. The careful mask he's maintained will shatter, unless he's very, very strategic about it. The tournament bracket is announced 3 days later. Single elimination format, 64 students total. Cain draws his first match against a C-rank water mage named Elena Frost. On paper, it's an even match. In reality, Cain could probably end it in seconds, but that would raise questions. So he spends his limited free time studying Elena's fighting style, watching her practice sessions, learning her patterns, figuring out exactly how much power he needs to show to win believably without revealing his true capabilities. The dungeon calls to him every night. That hunger never fades. He's reached the 5th level now where the monsters have evolved beyond. Simple beasts. Some use weapons. Others employ basic magic. They coordinate attacks and set ambushes. Hunting them requires focus and planning. Cain has stopped counting how many cores he's absorbed. Dozens, maybe hundreds. His body has changed in subtle ways. Faster healing, enhanced senses, strength that shouldn't be possible for someone his size. And those moments where his eyes glow are becoming more frequent, harder to suppress. He's also noticed his emotional responses changing. Things that should bother him don't anymore. The other day, he watched a D-rank student get injured during training. Broken leg. The kid was crying, and Cain felt nothing, just clinical observation. That should worry him. It doesn't. Tournament day arrives with clear skies and nervous energy. The entire academy gathers in the grand arena. Tiered seating surrounds a massive combat platform. Protective barriers shimmer at the edges. Spectators fill every available space. Kane waits in the preparation area with the other C-rank competitors. They eye each other with a mix of determination and anxiety. Some stretch. Others meditate. A few run through last-minute drills. Kane sits perfectly still, conserving energy, watching. His name is called. The crowd's murmur shifts to curious whispers as he walks onto the platform. The mysterious late bloomer. The impossible case. Everyone wants to see if he's legitimate or just a fluke. Elena Frost stands on the opposite side, confident, composed. She's been C-rank for 2 years, has dozens of tournament matches under her belt, against someone who was F-rank 2 months. Ego. She should dominate easily. The referee, a stern A-rank instructor named Professor Vex, outlines the rules. Standard combat magic only. No lethal force. Match ends when one fighter yields, exits the platform, or is rendered unable to continue. He raises his hand. Pauses. Drops it. The match begins. Elena moves first, conjures 3 ice spears and launches them in rapid succession. Fast, accurate. Textbook C-rank combat technique. Kane sidesteps the first, deflects the second with a barrier, catches the third in a burst of flame that reduces it to steam. The crowd reacts with surprised approval. His movements are clean, efficient. Elena's expression hardens. She's not fighting a beginner anymore. She switches tactics, creates a wall of ice between them and uses it as cover. Smart. Kane can hear her channeling something bigger behind that barrier. He could blast through it easily. Instead, he circles, makes her think he's looking for an angle. The ice wall explodes outward. Dozens of frozen shards spray across the platform. Kane's barrier holds against the assault, but just barely. Through the dissipating frost, Elena rushes forward. Close combat. She's generated ice around her fists, adding weight and impact to her strikes. They exchange blows. Elena's fast and well-trained, but Kane's faster. His enhanced reflexes make her attacks seem telegraphed. He blocks, deflects, lets a few hits land to make it look competitive, all while analyzing her style, her weaknesses, the moments where she overcommits. 3 minutes into the match, Kane sees his opening. Elena throws a powerful right hook, ice-covered fist aimed at his head. Kane ducks under it, sweeps her lead leg. As she stumbles, he places one palm against her sternum and channels fire. Not enough to hurt, just enough to overwhelm her defensive magic and knock her flat on her back. She stays down for a 3 count. The referee calls the match. Kane offers his hand. Elena takes it, bewildered but sporting. The crowd applauds politely. A clean win, nothing extraordinary, exactly what Kane intended. But as he walks off the platform, he catches Professor Vex watching him with an unreadable expression. The old instructor has seen thousands of matches. He knows when someone's holding back. Round 2 comes the next day. Kane faces a B-rank Earth Mage named Roland Stone, built like a boulder, fought in actual combat missions outside the academy. This should be a significant step up in difficulty. Roland opens with overwhelming force, tears chunks of stone from the platform itself, and hurls them with devastating power. Each impact shakes the arena. Kane weaves between projectiles. His enhanced speed makes the barrage manageable. But to the crowd, it looks like desperate evasion. He counters with fire. Roland summons an earth wall that absorbs the flames. The mage grins behind his defenses. He's fought fire users before, knows the matchup, expects this to be straightforward. Kane shifts tactics, uses the shadow magic he absorbed from dungeon creatures weeks ago. Dark tendrils creep across the platform. They don't attack directly, just probe, test, search for openings in Roland's defense. The crowd goes silent. Shadow magic from a former F-rank student. That's not something you pick up from standard training. That's specialized, rare, expensive to learn. Roland notices too. His expression shifts from confidence to calculation. He reinforces his defenses, tries to pin down those shadows with earth spikes, but the tendrils are slippery, evasive. They keep him occupied while Kane circles for position. When the opening comes, Kane doesn't waste it. Combines fire and shadow in a technique he developed in the dungeon. Flame-wreathed darkness that burns through Roland's earth barrier and impacts his chest. Not hard enough to injure seriously, just hard enough to shut down his magic momentarily and knock him out of bounds. The crowd erupts. That was a B-rank technique, maybe even A rank in execution. Kane just beat a veteran fighter with 2 years more experience. The mystery deepens. In the preparation area, other competitors watch him differently now. Not with contempt or pity, with wariness, with respect, with the beginning of fear. Round 3, round 4. Kane advances through the bracket with calculated precision. Each match he reveals slightly more ability. Each victory seems hard-earned but achievable. He takes hits, shows fatigue, makes it look like he's being pushed to his limits. The truth is, he's operating at maybe 30% capacity. Could end any of these matches in seconds if he unleashed even half of what the dungeon has made him. But that would destroy his cover. So he plays the role of the determined underdog. The late bloomer fighting above his weight class through sheer grit. By the semi-finals, Kane has drawn serious attention. His next opponent is Marcus Stormwind, the B-rank lightning mage who demolished him in their first sparring session. The same one who questioned him at lunch. Now they face each other with the entire academy watching. Marcus doesn't underestimate him this time. Opens with his fastest techniques, lightning arcs across the platform in a web of electrical death. Kane's barrier flares bright, holds, but the continuous assault drains his visible magic reserves quickly. He's forced on the defensive, retreating across the platform. Marcus presses the advantage. More lightning, faster strikes. The crowd leans forward. This looks like the match where Kane's miracle run ends. Then Marcus makes a mistake, overextends on a powerful strike, leaves his guard open for a fraction of a second. Kane doesn't think, just reacts. Channels everything into a point-blank burst of combined fire and shadow. The explosion rocks the arena. When the smoke clears, Marcus is down, unconscious. His defensive spells shattered. Kane stands over him, breathing hard, looking as exhausted as he should be after burning that much power. The crowd goes absolutely wild. The medical team rushes onto the platform. Marcus is fine, just knocked out and severely drained. He'll recover in a day or two. But the statement has been made. Kane just defeated one of the Academy's rising stars. As he walks off the platform, Kane catches his reflection in a polished brass fixture. For just a moment, his eyes flash red. He forces it down quickly. But that moment was close. Too close. The power wants out. Wants recognition. Wants to show these people what real strength looks like. The final match is scheduled for the next day. Kane will face whoever wins the other semi-final. As he lies in his dorm that night, he knows he should rest. Should prepare mentally for the biggest fight of his academic career. Instead, he descends to the dungeon. Because the hunger doesn't care about tournaments or schedules. It demands to be fed. And Kane has stopped pretending he has any real choice in the matter. The 5th level has become routine. Kane moves through it efficiently now. Kills the monsters he encounters without much effort. Absorbs their cores mechanically. His body processes the power automatically, while his mind focuses on navigation. He's searching for the path deeper. There has to be more. The dungeon feels vast, ancient, like it extends far beyond these initial levels. And that hunger in his chest pulls him forward. insists there's something waiting in the depths. Tonight, he finds it. A passage he's never noticed before, hidden behind a collapsed section of wall that he's walked past a dozen times. But now, maybe because he's absorbed enough power, maybe because he's meant to find it, the passage is clear. The stairs beyond descend at a sharp angle. The stone here is different, older, carved with symbols that make his eyes hurt to look at directly. Whatever language this is, it predates anything taught at the academy. Cain descends. The temperature drops noticeably. His breath mists in the air. The walls begin to change. Less natural stone, more deliberate architecture. Someone built this, constructed it with purpose and precision. The 6th level opens into a massive chamber, but this isn't like the rough caverns above. This is a hall. Pillars carved with intricate designs support a vaulted ceiling. The floor is polished black stone inlaid with silver script, and on the walls, murals. Dozens of them, preserved perfectly despite obvious age. Cain approaches the nearest one slowly. The mural shows a figure standing in darkness. Similar size and shape to a human, but wrong somehow. Around the figure, smaller shapes kneel, offering something. Cain leans closer. The smaller figures are offering their hearts, and the dark figure is consuming them. The next mural shows the figure growing larger, more powerful, surrounded by corpses. The artistic style makes it clear this isn't metaphorical. This is documentation. Cain moves along the wall. Each mural tells part of a story. The dark figure, called the Devourer in the ancient script he somehow can now partially read, consumed everything. Monsters, mages, entire armies. With each consumption it grew stronger, more terrible. But there's a cost shown in the later murals. The Devourer's form becomes unstable, fragmenting. The power it consumed fights for control. Multiple faces appear in its silhouette, multiple voices. It's not one being anymore. It's a collection of everything it devoured, screaming in unified hunger. The final mural shows the Devourer being sealed, great mages combining their power to bind it beneath the earth. But even in the mural, you can see it's not destroyed, just contained, waiting. Cain's blood runs cold. This dungeon isn't natural. It's a prison. And that hunger he's been feeling, that power he's been absorbing, it's not just monster magic. It's fragments of something far worse. A sound echoes through the chamber, not the clicks and scrapes of the mindless beasts above. This is different. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Footsteps. Cain spins. A figure emerges from a shadowed archway on the far side of the chamber. Humanoid, but clearly not human. Elongated limbs, skin that seems to shift between solid and translucent, eyes that glow with intelligent malice. It speaks. The voice is layered, multiple tones overlapping. The language is that same ancient script from the walls, but Cain understands it. Somehow, after absorbing all those cores, the knowledge has transferred. The creature asks what he is, how he can be here. The seals should prevent any living thing from reaching this level. And yet here stands a boy, reeking of consumed power, staring at the Devourer's history. Cain doesn't answer. Can't answer. Because he's realized what this thing is. It's not a monster. Not like the mindless beasts above. This is a guardian. A construct left by those ancient mages to watch over the seal. The guardian tilts its head, studies him. Then it laughs. The sound echoes wrong in the chamber. It says Cain is already lost, can feel the Devourer's hunger in him, growing, consuming from the inside. Every core absorbed brings him closer to becoming what the Devourer was. It asks if he wants to know the truth. Why F-rank students aren't supposed to exist anymore. Why someone with Cain's particular magical signature should have been identified and eliminated as an infant. Because he's not weak. He's dormant, carrying a bloodline that traces back to the Devourer itself, a descendant of something that should have been wiped out centuries ago. The revelation hits like a physical blow. Kane's not getting stronger. He's awakening, becoming what he was always meant to be. And every monster core, every absorption, every feeding of that hunger accelerates the process. The Guardian raises one elongated hand, says it should kill him, now, before he becomes unstoppable. But it's curious. Wants to see if this generation's carrier can succeed where all others failed, can consume without being consumed. It attacks without further warning, faster than anything Kane has fought before. The first strike catches him across the chest, sends him flying into a pillar. The stone cracks from the impact. Kane rolls to his feet. Fire and shadow respond to his call, but the Guardian moves through both like they're not there. This thing is on a completely different level. A rank at minimum, possibly higher. The fight becomes desperate immediately. Kane uses every technique he's developed, every absorption, every skill. The Guardian counters each one effortlessly. It's not just stronger. It knows these abilities, has seen them before in previous Devourers. A strike catches Kane's shoulder. Another hits his ribs. He's bleeding now, actually injured in a way the mindless monsters haven't managed in weeks. The Guardian isn't trying to kill him quickly. It's testing, pushing, seeing what he can do. Kane's vision blurs. Pain radiates through his body. That hunger in his chest roars to life, demanding, insisting, showing him a way forward if he's just willing to take it. He reaches for the Guardian, not with magic, with something deeper, that core ability that let him drain a monster completely on the 4th level, the technique he's been afraid to use since. His hand connects with the Guardian's arm, and suddenly he's pulling, not just energy, essence, the Guardian's entire being. It realizes what's happening and tries to break away. Too late. The connection is established. Information floods Kane's mind. Memories that aren't his. The Guardian's knowledge. Its understanding of the seal. The truth about the Devourer. And underneath it all, the terrible realization that this ability, this draining, is the Devourer's signature technique. The Guardian collapses. Not dead, but severely weakened. It looks up at Kane with something like satisfaction in its glowing eyes. Says he's the real thing, the genuine article, the first true Devourer descendant in 300 years. It asks what he'll do now, knowing what he is, knowing what he's becoming. Will he run, try to resist, or embrace it fully? Kane doesn't answer, just touches the Guardian's core directly. The absorption is massive, more power than he's ever taken at once. His body convulses, his magic surges, something fundamental shifts inside him. When he can see clearly again, the Guardian is gone, completely consumed. And Kane's standing in that chamber, power radiating off him in visible waves. His eyes glow solid red now. No more suppressing it. He looks at his hands. They're shaking. Not from exhaustion, from excitement, from the rush of absolute power. That hunger is satisfied for the moment, but he knows it's temporary. It will return, stronger each time. And the terrifying part is that he doesn't care anymore. Doesn't care about the consequences, about what he's becoming. All that matters is more. Always more. The tournament final is tomorrow. Kane should leave the dungeon, should rest and prepare. Instead, he goes deeper, finds the stairs to the 7th level, descends into darkness that even his glowing eyes barely penetrate, because whatever's down there is calling to him. And Kane Devourer blood, no longer just a weak academy student, is more than ready to answer. Kane doesn't sleep before the tournament. Final. Spends the entire night in the dungeon's 7th level, hunting, consuming, drowning himself in power. When dawn breaks, He climbs those stairs one last time, emerges into the storage room with blood on his hands and darkness in his eyes. The bathroom mirror shows him what he's become. His eyes don't fade to normal anymore. They stay red, bright and inhuman. Dark veins trace up his neck, visible even through his academy uniform. And when he smiles, his teeth look sharper than they should. Kane spends 20 minutes forcing his appearance back to something human, concentrating, pushing the visible corruption down beneath his skin. It fights him, wants to be seen, wants everyone to know what he is. But he needs one more day, one more performance. Then it won't matter. The arena is packed, every seat filled. Students, instructors, even some parents and academy board members have shown up. Word of the mysterious C-rank student has spread. Everyone wants to see if he can actually win. His opponent is Sarah Brightflame, A-rank fire specialist, 3 years his senior. She's won the tournament twice before, holds records for fastest victories. If there was ever a mismatch, this is it. Kane walks onto the platform to mixed reactions. Some cheer, many remain silent, a few boo. Sarah receives thunderous applause. She's everything the Academy values: natural talent, perfect technique, exemplary record. Professor Vex officiates again. His expression is grave as he outlines the rules. He holds Kane's gaze for a long moment. The old instructor knows something is wrong, can sense it, but protocols must be followed. The match begins. Sarah doesn't underestimate him, opens with an A-rank technique immediately. A massive pillar of flame erupts from the platform, engulfs the entire space where Kane stands. The heat is incredible. The crowd shields their faces. The flames disperse. Kane stands unharmed. Didn't even bother with a barrier. Just let the fire wash over him. It felt warm, pleasant. Nothing more. Sarah's eyes widen. That should have at least forced him to defend. She launches 3 more attacks in rapid succession, each one powerful enough to hospitalize a B-rank student. Kane walks through all of them like they're not there. He's absorbed too. Many fire-based monsters. Fire magic doesn't hurt him anymore. It feeds him. The crowd goes silent. This isn't how magic works. You can't just ignore attacks from someone 2 ranks higher. The laws of magical combat are clear, absolute, except Kane is violating those laws. With every step, Sarah switches tactics. If fire won't work, she'll use raw force. Conjures a blade of compressed flame and charges. The weapon could cut through steel. She's fast and skilled. Brings the blade down in a perfect arc. Kane catches it, bare-handed. The flame blade dissipates against his palm like smoke. He doesn't burn, doesn't even flinch, just looks at Sarah. With those red eyes and smiles, that's when everyone realizes he's not C-rank, not even close. Whatever ranking he showed in the assessments was a lie, an illusion. This is something else entirely. Sarah stumbles backward, fear replacing confidence. She throws everything she has, every technique learned, over years of training, every spell in her considerable arsenal. Kane doesn't dodge, doesn't block, just stands there and absorbs it all. When her magic is exhausted, when she's gasping for breath with nothing left, Kane moves. One moment he's across the platform. The next he's in front of her. His hand touches her chest, right over her heart. He doesn't consume her, doesn't drain her essence, just shows her he could, shows everyone watching that he's holding back, that this whole tournament has been him playing at being weak. Sarah collapses, not injured, just overwhelmed. Kane is declared the winner by technical knockout. The crowd doesn't know how to react. Some applaud, others sit frozen. Many look disturbed. Kane walks off the platform, doesn't accept the trophy, doesn't wait for the ceremony, just leaves while everyone whispers and speculates and tries to understand what they just witnessed. Headmaster Valen intercepts him in the corridor. The old man's expression is stern, demands an explanation, demands to know what Cain really is. His magical signature during that match was wrong, corrupted, showing elements that shouldn't exist together. Cain meets the headmaster's eyes, those glowing red eyes that he's stopped trying to hide. Says he's the same thing he's always been, just finally strong enough to show it. The headmaster takes a step back. Recognition dawns. He's read the old texts, knows the signs, Devourer bloodline. But that's impossible. Those lines were purged, eliminated root and branch centuries ago, specifically to prevent this. Cain smiles. Impossible is just another word for things that haven't happened yet. He walks away before the headmaster can respond. Leaves the old man standing in an empty corridor, realizing the academy has been housing something that should have been killed at birth. Emergency meetings are called. Senior staff gather behind closed doors. The debate rages. Some want Cain expelled immediately, handed over to the Magic Council for examination and judgment. Others argue he's done nothing wrong. Broken no rules. His bloodline isn't his fault. A few suggest weaponizing him. If they can control a Devourer descendant, the Academy would gain immense prestige and power. That faction is quickly shut down by those who remember history. You don't control Devourers. You just delay how long it takes them to consume everything around them. While they argue, Cain is already gone, descended to the dungeon again. The pretense is over. No more hiding. No more restraint. He goes deep. Past the 7th level, into the 8th, the 9th, killing everything he encounters, absorbing everything that has essence to take. The monsters, down here, are stronger. A rank, S rank. Some are intelligent enough to try to flee when they sense what's coming. Doesn't matter. Cain hunts them all. His power grows exponentially with each consumption. By the time he reaches the 10th level, he's lost track of how long he's been down here. Hours? Days? Time moves differently in the deep places. Or maybe he just doesn't care anymore. The 10th level is different from everything above it. The architecture becomes deliberately malevolent. Walls carved with screaming faces. Floors slick, with something that isn't water. The air itself feels thick. Wrong. Like reality is starting to break down. And in the center of this level, waiting in a chamber of absolute darkness, something enormous stirs. The Abyss Guardian doesn't attack immediately, just watches as Cain enters its domain. This creature is massive, easily 20 feet tall. Its body seems to be made of solidified shadow with cores of light burning within. 3 heads, 6 arms, each limb ending in crystalline claws that hum with power. It speaks in that same layered voice the previous Guardian used. But this one's voice shakes the chamber, causes dust to fall from the ancient ceiling. It asks if Cain is the one, the Devourer's heir, the child of hunger. Cain doesn't answer verbally, just lets his power manifest. Red energy radiates from his body. His eyes blaze. The corruption he's been hiding surfaces fully. Dark veins cover his skin. His hands have developed claws. His teeth are definitely fangs now. The Guardian nods, says it's been waiting centuries for this, for the bloodline to awaken again. The seal is weakening, has been since Cain took his first core. Every absorption further degrades the ancient. Magic holding the Devourers remains imprisoned. It explains that the dungeon isn't just a prison. It's a test. The true Devourer's power was so immense it couldn't be destroyed, only sealed and fragmented, hidden in the cores of these monsters. Anyone strong enough to reach the bottom, to consume everything along the way, would inherit that power completely. Cain processes this. He's not just getting stronger. He's reassembling something that was deliberately shattered. Every core brings him closer to becoming the original Devourer. And the terrible thing is that knowledge doesn't horrify him. It excites him. The Guardian says it must try to stop him. That's its purpose. Its entire reason for existence. Even knowing it will likely fail. It attacks. The battle is like nothing Cain has experienced. The Guardian moves with impossible speed for something so large. Its 6 arms attack from multiple angles simultaneously. Each strike carries enough force to shatter stone. Its 3 heads breathe different elemental attacks. Fire, ice, lightning. Cain meets it with everything he's learned. Fire and shadow intertwined. Draining techniques that pull at the Guardian's essence. Raw physical power enhanced by dozens of absorbed monster abilities. The chamber becomes a war zone. They fight across the entire level, through corridor after corridor, chamber after chamber. The Guardian is stronger than anything Cain's faced. But he's faster, more adaptable. And most importantly, he's hungry. Every time the Guardian's claws rake across him, the wounds heal almost instantly. Every time its elemental attacks connect, Cain absorbs the energy and uses it to fuel his own techniques. He's become what the Devourer was meant to be. An apex predator that grows stronger from every attack. The fight lasts hours. Both combatants pushing beyond normal limits. The Guardian because it must. Cain because he can. Because that hunger drives him forward no matter how exhausted his body becomes. The turning point comes when Cain manages to sever one of the Guardian's arms. The limb falls, its core exposed. Cain doesn't hesitate, consumes it immediately. The rush of power is astronomical, and with it comes knowledge, memories of the Guardian's creation. The seal's structure. Weaknesses. The Guardian roars, realizes what's happening. This isn't just a fight anymore. Cain is consuming it piece by piece, taking its power, its knowledge, its very existence. Cain presses the advantage, targets another arm, then another. Each consumption makes him stronger, makes the next attack easier. The Guardian's 3 heads scream in fury and desperation. But it's too late. When Cain finally stands over the Guardian's collapsed form, both of them are barely conscious. But Cain is still standing, still hungry. He places both hands on the Guardian's central core. The absorption is apocalyptic. More power than his body should be able to contain. His magical channels burn. His bones crack and reform. His entire being reconstructs itself to accommodate what he's taking. Memories flood his mind, not just the Guardian's, but fragments of the original Devourer, glimpses of what it was, what it did, the terror it inspired, the worlds it consumed before being sealed beneath this academy. And with those memories comes understanding. The seal isn't failing because of time or degradation. It's failing because Cain exists. Because a descendant of the Devourer walked right into its prison and started feeding. The seal was designed to contain the Devourer's power, not to prevent someone from claiming it from the inside. Cain collapses, the absorption complete, the Guardian gone. He lies on the cold stone floor of the 10th level while his body processes what he's taken. Hours pass, maybe days. Time has no meaning down here. When he finally opens his eyes, everything has changed. He can see differently, perceive the flows of magic in the walls, sense the seal's structure, and beyond it, far below in the 11th level, he feels something massive, something that makes even his current power seem insignificant. The Devourer's core, the source, the thing all the ancient mages work together to bind. It's waiting down there, calling to him. Its rightful heir. Cain stands on unsteady legs. His body has transformed further. He's taller now, more muscular. His features have become sharper, more predatory. And his magic, when he channels it, manifests as pure darkness. Not shadow, not absence of light. Something more fundamental. The void between things. He should return to the surface. Should rest and process everything that's happened. Should probably be concerned about the fact that he's definitely not human anymore. Instead, he finds the stairs leading down to the 11th level, the abyss proper, where even the ancient texts warned that no mortal should ever tread. Cain descends. Because the hunger demands it. Because his bloodline compels it. Because he's so close now to absolute power that nothing else matters. The 11th level isn't a structure. It's a concept. A place where reality bends. The stairs seem to go down forever while simultaneously arriving instantly. The walls breathe. The floor shifts. Gravity becomes a suggestion rather than a law. And at the center of this impossible space, suspended in chains of pure magical force, hangs a sphere of absolute darkness, the Devourer's core, the source of every monster in this dungeon, the origin of Cain's bloodline, the thing that could make him truly unstoppable. Cain approaches slowly. Each step requires monumental effort. The seal fights him, ancient magic trying desperately to prevent what's about to happen. But the seal was never meant to stop someone from inside, someone who carries the Devourer's own blood. He reaches out. His fingers brush the sphere's surface. And the moment contact is made, everything changes. The chains shatter. The sphere cracks. Darkness explodes outward. Raw power beyond anything that should exist. It would overwhelm anyone, destroy them, consume them from the inside. But Cain isn't anyone. He's the Devourer's heir, the bloodline that was specifically evolved to contain this power. His body, reconstructed through dozens of absorptions, is designed for exactly this moment. He doesn't fight the power, doesn't try to control it, just opens himself completely and lets it pour in. Lets it fill every cell, every molecule, every quantum space between spaces. The transformation is absolute. Cain's human form can't contain what he's becoming. His body dissolves into darkness, reforms, dissolves again, struggling to find a shape that can hold a god's power in mortal flesh. When the process finally completes, when the last fragment of the Devourer's core is absorbed, Cain stands in the center of the 11th level as something new. Something that's never existed before. Not the Devourer reborn, but something beyond it. A synthesis of ancient power and modern flesh. The SSS-Class Dark Mage. The first in 300 years. The last Devourer descendant fully awakened. His form has stabilized. Still vaguely human. Tall, powerful. Covered in dark armor that seems to be made of solidified void. His eyes burn with red fire. His hands end in claws that can tear through reality. And the hunger, that constant companion, has evolved into something more. Purpose, direction, absolute certainty. Cain looks up, through 11 levels of ancient stone, past the academy above, into the sky beyond. He can sense everything now. Every living thing within miles. Their power, their essence, their potential to be consumed. The seal is broken. The prison is empty. And the thing that was Cain Devourer blood is ready to return to a world that forgot what true power looks like. He ascends, not through the stairs. Those are for creatures bound by normal physics. Cain simply wills himself upward. His body dissolves into shadow, and reforms on each successive level, through the 10th, the 9th, the 8th, rising like darkness given form. By the time he reaches the storage room, dawn is breaking. 3 days have passed since the tournament final. 3 days the academy has been in chaos trying to decide what to do about him. 3 days that no longer matter because the decision has been made for them. Cain steps out of the storage room. His new form draws stares from early morning students. Some scream, others run. A few freeze in terror. He pays them no attention. just walks through the corridors toward the main academy building. His destination is clear. The headmaster's office, where all the instructors are still meeting, still debating, still pretending they have any control over what happens next. The administrative building's doors explode inward. Kane doesn't knock, doesn't announce himself, just walks through solid wood like it's paper. The entrance hall fills with shocked faces, staff members, students, all frozen at the sight of what's approaching. His footsteps echo against marble floors. Each step leaves a brief shadow that takes seconds to fade. The air around him feels wrong, colder than it should be, heavier, like reality itself is uncomfortable with his presence. Alarms begin to sound. The Academy's defensive wards activate. Ancient protections designed to repel invasion and contain threats. Magical barriers snap into place across doorways and corridors. Binding spells weave through the air, searching for targets to immobilize. Kane walks through all of it. The barriers dissolve at his touch. The binding spells unravel before reaching him. The wards might as well not exist. They were built to stop ordinary mages, ordinary threats. He is neither. Senior instructors emerge from various offices. 10 of them, all A rank or higher. Professor Vex leads them. The old man's expression is resigned. He knows what this is, has probably known since the tournament final. This isn't a student anymore. This is an extinction event in human shape. They attack anyway, because that's what instructors do. Protect the academy, protect the students, even when the math says it's hopeless. Lightning from Marcus's instructor, ice walls from Elena's mentor, earth spikes from Roland's teacher, fire torrents from Sarah's master. All of it coordinated, perfectly timed, decades of combat experience, distilled into a single devastating assault. Kane raises one hand. The attacks stop, not blocked, not deflected, just stop, suspended in midair like insects in amber. He closes his fist. The suspended magic implodes, collapses into nothing. 10. Instructor's combined assault erased with a gesture. Professor Vex steps forward. His voice carries despite the chaos. Asks Kane what he wants, what this is about. There's no fear in the old man's tone, just tired acceptance of what's coming. Kane speaks for the first time since his transformation. His voice resonates, layered, with harmonics that shouldn't exist in human speech. Says he wants nothing from them. Has nothing to prove. Just came to announce that the weak student they pitied is gone. What remains is something they should have feared from the beginning. The headmaster appears at the top of the grand staircase. Valen looks older than his years, worn down by 3 days of crisis management and impossible decisions. He descends slowly. Every eye in the hall watches him approach the thing that used to be Kane. Valen asks a simple question. Will you destroy the academy? Kill the students? Consume everything here like your ancestor did? Kane considers this. That hunger in his chest could be satisfied by doing exactly that. Thousands of magical signatures surround him. Potential meals, potential power. It would be easy, natural even. But he says no. These people did nothing to him. Their crime is weakness, ignorance. That's not worth extinction. He'll leave them alone, as long as they don't try to stop him. The headmaster accepts this, knows it's the best outcome possible, better than he had any right to expect. He asks where Kane will go, what his plans are now. Kane's answer is simple: anywhere he wants, to find greater challenges, stronger opponents. The dungeon has been emptied. This academy has nothing left to teach him. The world is vast and full of things that need to be tested against his power. That's when the second faction arrives, led by Professor Aldrich, the man who ignored Kane for 3 years, who treated him like empty air. Now he looks at Kane with hunger that mirrors the Devourer's own. But this is political hunger, ambition. Aldrich speaks smoothly. reasonably, says the Academy doesn't need to be enemies with Cain, that his power could benefit everyone, that with proper guidance and resources, he could become the Academy's greatest weapon, its ultimate defense. Other instructors join in, agreeing, promising support and access to restricted knowledge, offering partnerships and alliances. All of it transparent manipulation. All of it trying to claim ownership of something they could never control. Cain laughs. The sound echoes wrong in the grand hall. Says they're welcome to try. If they think they can bind him, use him, control him. He'll even give them the first move. But they should know that every attempt will end the same way. With them consumed. With their power becoming his. The room goes silent. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. A statement of absolute fact. Some instructors back down immediately, recognize the futility. Others, the ambitious ones, the ones who built careers on calculated risks, begin channeling power, preparing binding spells, suppression techniques, everything in their considerable arsenals designed to control powerful entities. Cain doesn't move, just waits. Lets them complete their preparations, build their confidence, believe they might actually succeed. When they finally strike, it's with everything. Binding circles etched in light surround him. Suppression fields crush down from above. Sealing magic attempts to lock away his power. Draining spells try to siphon his essence. It's the kind of coordinated assault that could bind an ancient demon. Cain stretches. The binding circles shatter. The suppression fields crack. The sealing magic unravels. The draining spells reverse. And then he shows them what real draining looks like. Dark tendrils explode from his body. Dozens of them. Each one targeting an instructor who tried to bind him. They don't kill. Don't need to. Just touch each instructor and take. Not everything. Just enough. Enough to leave them gasping on the floor. Enough to make the point absolutely clear. When the tendrils retract, Cain stands surrounded by depleted instructors. All of them alive. All of them broken. Their magical reserves drained to dangerous levels. It will take weeks to recover. Some may never return to their previous strength. He looks around the hall, meets the eyes of every person present. Students, staff, instructors. Make sure they all understand. This is mercy. This is him choosing restraint. But mercy isn't weakness. And restraint has limits. The message is received. No one else attacks. No one else tries to negotiate. They just watch as Cain walks toward the main doors. His path clears automatically. No one willing to stand in the way. Before leaving, he pauses. Turns back to address the crowd. His layered voice fills the hall. Says that in 1 week, he'll return to the capital. To challenge the royal court's S-rank mages. To test himself against the strongest fighters humanity has produced. Anyone who wants to stop him should gather their strength. Prepare their best. Because he's going to prove once and for all that the age of ordinary mages is over. Then he's gone, dissolving into shadow and reforming outside the academy walls. The building shudders in his absence. Like reality itself is relieved by his departure. Inside, chaos erupts. Students panic. Instructors argue. The headmaster stands in the center of it all, knowing he needs to send warnings. Alert the capital. Prepare the kingdom for what's coming. But part of him wonders if it will matter. If anything they do will be enough against what Cain has become. Cain doesn't go to the capital immediately. Has 7 days before his declared challenge. 7 days to explore what his new form can do. To understand the full scope of his transformation. He travels into the wilderness. The deep forests where monsters roam freely. Where adventurer parties fear to tread without extensive preparation. He's curious if anything out here can challenge his new state. The first pack of monsters he encounters are dire wolves, rank threats individually, deadly in groups. They surround him quickly. Coordinated hunters that have killed countless unwary travelers. Cain doesn't fight them, just releases a fraction of his presence, his aura, the pressure of his existence made manifest. The wolves freeze, then flee, scatter in every direction, terror overriding their predatory instincts. He finds this fascinating. His mere presence is enough to repel A-rank threats. What does that make him? S-rank clearly, but S-rank alone wouldn't cause this level of fear. This is something more. Deeper in the forest, he encounters an ancient dragon. True dragons are incredibly rare, intelligent, powerful. This one has lived for centuries, controlled this territory since before the academy was built. S-rank at minimum, possibly beyond. The dragon emerges from its lair when it senses Cain approaching. Massive. Scales like black mirrors, eyes that glow with arcane knowledge. It speaks in the old language, demands to know what walks in its domain. Cain meets the dragon's gaze, says he's testing himself, looking for worthy opponents, asks if the dragon would oblige. The ancient creature studies him, sees what he is, recognizes the Devourer's mark. The dragon says it remembers the last time such a being walked the world, remembers the devastation, the consumption, the terror. It attacks without further conversation. Massive jaws snap forward, claws the size of swords rake downward. Dragon fire hot enough to melt stone fills the clearing. This is power that has ended kingdoms. Cain meets it head-on, catches the jaws in his hands, holds them open through raw strength. The dragon fire washes over him harmlessly. He's beyond temperature now, beyond most physical damage. The claws scrape against his void armor and leave no marks. The dragon realizes. Quickly it's outmatched. Tries to disengage, take flight, escape while it still can. But Cain's faster. Grabs the dragon's throat in one clawed hand. The ancient creature thrashes, struggles, channels every spell in its considerable repertoire. Nothing works. Cain holds firm. And then he begins to drain. Not the dragon's magic, its life itself. Its accumulated centuries of existence flowing into him like water into a bottomless well. The dragon's struggles weaken. Its scales lose luster. Its eyes dim. When Cain finally releases his grip, the ancient creature collapses. Not dead, but close. Centuries of accumulated power reduced to barely functioning embers. Cain absorbs what he took. The dragon's knowledge floods his mind. Magic it spent lifetimes mastering. Memories of an age before humans built their kingdoms. Understanding of the world's fundamental forces. He leaves the dragon alive. Weakened, but breathing. A message to anything else that might challenge him. This is what happens to legends that stand in his path. The week passes quickly. Cain travels, hunts, tests himself against everything he finds. An ancient lich, a demon lord's avatar, a manifestation of pure elemental chaos. Each one falls. Each one feeds him. Each one proves that his transformation is complete. By the 6th day, nothing in the wilderness offers challenge anymore. He's consumed or defeated everything worth fighting. The hunger, that constant companion, has evolved beyond need for sustenance. Now it's purely about testing limits, finding boundaries that might not exist. On the 7th day, Cain stands at the edge of the capital city. Dawn breaks over marble spires and golden domes. The kingdom's heart, where the strongest mages in humanity serve the crown, where legends are made and remembered. The city's defensive wards activate the moment he approaches. Ancient magic woven by dozens of S-rank mages over generations, designed to detect and repel any threat. The alarms sound immediately. Warning bells ring through every district. The royal guard mobilizes. Elite warriors in enchanted armor. Mages, carrying artifacts of power, all of them converging on the main gate where Cain waits patiently. He could bypass the walls easily, could appear directly in the throne room if he wanted. But that's not the point. This is a challenge, a declaration. He'll walk through the front gate, through their defenses, through their strongest fighters, and prove beyond doubt that humanity's hierarchy of power has been permanently broken. The captain of the guard approaches, a grizzled warrior who's seen actual war, led campaigns against monster hordes and rogue mage uprisings. His voice carries authority when he demands Cain's surrender, orders him to submit to magical binding for examination. Cain's response is to take one step forward, just one. But that single step carries intent, pressure, a promise of what comes next if they don't move. The captain doesn't move, holds his ground, raises his enchanted sword. Behind him, 50 elite guards do the same. They're prepared to die if necessary. That's what the Royal Guard does. Cain respects that, respects the courage, the commitment, says he'll give them one chance, stand aside, let him pass, or discover what happens when mortal warriors challenge a god. The captain's answer is to attack. The Royal Guard surges forward as one, coordinated, professional, everything they've trained their entire lives to do. Enchanted weapons strike with, enough force to level buildings. Binding spells weave between attacks. Support mages channel defensive barriers around their allies. It's impressive, genuinely impressive. Against an S-rank threat, they might actually win. Against Cain, they don't last 30 seconds. He doesn't kill them, doesn't need to, just moves through their formation like a hurricane through paper walls. Each touch drains enough power to render them unconscious. Each gesture sends enchanted weapons flying. Each step forward is another elite warrior falling. When the dust settles, 50 of the kingdom's finest lie unconscious but alive. The captain remains standing through sheer force of will. Blood runs from his nose. His enchanted armor is cracked. But he still holds his sword forward, still blocking the gate. Cain pauses, asks why. Why keep fighting when the outcome is obvious, when surrender would save his life? The captain's answer is simple, because someone has to. Because if everyone with power just gives up when confronted by overwhelming force, then power is all that matters. And that's not a world worth living. And Cain considers this, then nods. There's wisdom there, courage, the kind of conviction that makes humanity worth not consuming entirely. He steps around the captain, doesn't drain him, doesn't render him unconscious. Just walks past in acknowledgement of that conviction. The gate stands before him. Solid steel reinforced with layer upon layer of defensive magic. Behind it, the entire city waits. The royal court has been warned. Every S-rank mage in the kingdom has been summoned. The throne room has been converted into a battlefield. They're as ready as they can be. Which won't be enough. But Cain respects the attempt. He places one hand against the gate, channels a fraction of his power. The metal doesn't bend or break. It simply ceases to exist, dissolved into component atoms that scatter on the wind. The defensive magic unravels without anything to anchor to. Cain walks into the capital proper, through streets that empty ahead of him, past citizens who flee or hide or simply freeze in terror at what they're seeing. He's not hiding his nature anymore. His void armor gleams, his eyes blaze. His presence alone makes the air heavy and wrong. The path to the throne room is clear. He knows the way, can sense every living thing in the city, can feel the gathering of powerful signatures ahead. The kingdom's last line of defense. About to learn what the Devourer's heir is truly capable of. This is it. The moment everything changes. The moment the world learns that SSS-Class isn't just a rank. It's a fundamental break from everything that came before. A new category. A new threat. A new power that renders all previous hierarchies obsolete. Cain approaches the palace doors. Behind them he can sense 9 S-rank mages, the kingdom's finest, each one a legend in their own right. Combined, they're probably the most powerful force humanity can muster on short notice, and he's going to walk through them like they're not even there. The throne room has been cleared of furniture and decorations. What remains is a massive open space with 9 S-rank mages positioned strategically around its perimeter. Each one represents a different magical discipline, different combat philosophies, different approaches to overwhelming force. At the far end, seated on a throne that hasn't been moved, sits King Aldwin III. He's old, seen decades of rule, weathered countless crises, but nothing in his long reign prepared him for this, for what walks through his palace doors. Cain enters without hesitation. The massive doors swing open at his approach. His footsteps echo in. The vast chamber. 9 pairs of eyes track his movement. 9 legendary mages prepare techniques that have toppled armies. The king speaks first. His voice carries the weight of authority built over a lifetime. Asks Cain what he wants. What price would make him leave peacefully? Gold, territory, position. Name it and it's his. Cain's answer is simple. He wants nothing. Came only to demonstrate what he is, what he's become. So that when stories spread, when legends form, they'll be based on witnessed truth rather than fearful speculation. One of the S-rank mages, an elderly woman named Archmage, Celine, asks the question everyone's thinking. What happens after the demonstration? Will he conquer? Destroy? Consume like the original Devourer did? Cain considers this genuinely, says he doesn't know yet. The hunger is still there, always will be. But it's changed, evolved beyond mindless consumption. He's curious now, about limits, about what exists beyond humanity's small kingdoms, about challenges that might actually test him. Another mage, a battle-scarred warrior named Magnus Ironheart, says that's not good enough. That uncertainty is worse than declared hostility. At least with enemies you know where you stand. Cain agrees, which is why he's offering them this. One chance. 9 S-rank mages against 1 SSS-Class aberration. If they win, he'll submit to whatever judgment they decide. If he wins, they acknowledge his superiority and leave him alone. The terms are accepted immediately. No one thinks they'll actually win. But fighting is better than cowering, better than accepting helplessness. The battle begins without formal signal. All 9 mages attack simultaneously. The coordination is flawless. Decades of training and combat experience distilled into pure lethality. Archmage Celine warps space itself, creates rifts that would tear ordinary matter apart. Magnus Ironheart channels enhancement magic that makes him temporarily as strong as an ancient dragon. The illusionist mage, Victoria Shadowmind, fills the room with perfect copies of all 9 mages, each one indistinguishable from the real thing. Lightning, ice, fire, earth, wind, gravity manipulation, time dilation. Every form of advanced magic humanity has mastered unleashed in concert. The throne room becomes a reality-bending war zone. Cain stands at the center of it all. Doesn't dodge, doesn't flee, just analyzes, studies, learns their techniques in real time, then begins to counter. He warps space better than Celine. His void manipulation treats reality like clay. The spatial rifts close before reaching him. His physical enhancement surpasses Magnus. When they clash directly, the shockwave shatters windows throughout the palace. Victoria's illusions are impressive, would fool almost anyone. But Cain can sense life itself now, knows which copies are real, dispels them with targeted pulses of power. The elemental attacks wash over him harmlessly. He's absorbed too many different essences. Fire feeds him. Ice shatters against his armor. Lightning courses through him without effect. Earth and wind might as well not exist. The time dilation is actually interesting. Slows his perception. Makes everything feel sluggish. But his body compensates automatically. Adapts to the altered flow. Moves faster to match the dilation until it's neutralized. 3 minutes into the fight, the S-rank mages realize they're not winning. They're not even surviving. Every attack gets countered. Every strategy adapted to. Kain isn't just stronger. He's fundamentally different, playing by rules they can't comprehend. 5 minutes in, the first mage falls. Victoria. Her magical reserves, completely drained from maintaining so many high-level illusions. Kain didn't even need to attack her directly, just outlasted her. 7 minutes. Magnus goes down, pushed his enhancement magic beyond safe limits, trying to match Kain's physical power. His body couldn't take the strain. He's alive, but unconscious. 10 minutes. Only Archmage Celine remains standing, the most powerful mage in the kingdom. Her spatial manipulation is genuinely impressive, but even she can see it's over. She asks Kain for one thing before surrendering. Show them. Show everyone. Watching what SSS-Class really means, not just defeating them, but demonstrating the gap, the absolute difference between S-rank and whatever he's become. Kain grants this request, raises one hand toward the vaulted ceiling, channels power. Not all of it, not even most of it, just enough to make a point. Reality cracks, actual visible, cracks in the fabric of space. Through them, darkness pours. Not shadow, not absence of light. The void between dimensions. The nothing that exists everywhere reality isn't. The void takes form, manifests as a massive construct. A dragon made of pure absence, 50 feet long, wings that span the entire throne room, eyes that burn with anti-light. This is a void dragon. A creature that shouldn't exist outside theoretical texts. Kain just summoned one casually. Like lighting a candle. The construct is solid enough to be real. Powerful enough to level the city. Under Kain's complete control. He holds it there for 30 seconds. Lets everyone see it. Understand what it represents. Then dismisses it with a gesture. Selene falls to her knees. Not from exhaustion, from understanding. She spent 80 years studying magic, mastering, spatial manipulation, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And this boy just showed her something she couldn't achieve in 10 lifetimes. The king descends from his throne, walks across the battle-scarred floor, stands before Kain without fear. His kingdom's protectors have fallen. His palace is damaged, his power demonstrated as inadequate. But he's still a king. He says formally that the crown acknowledges Kain's superiority, offers no resistance to his freedom of movement, asks only one thing, that he not destroy needlessly, that he remember these people posed no threat to him, showed respect through their challenge. Kain nods, accepts this, says the kingdom has nothing to fear from him unless it tries to chain him again. He's not the original Devourer, isn't here to consume everything, just to exist without limitation, to pursue power without artificial constraints. The audience is granted. The demonstration complete. Kain turns to leave. Every mage who can still stand bows slightly, not in submission, in acknowledgement. He's proven his point absolutely. As Kain walks through the palace corridors, word has already spread. The capital buzzes with news. SSS-Class is real. The Devourer's bloodline has awakened. 9 S-rank mages fell in 10 minutes. A void dragon was summoned casually. By the time he reaches the city gates, crowds have gathered. Not to fight, just to see. To witness history. The moment everything changed. When humanity learned they're no longer the apex. Some look terrified. others awed. A few seem excited, like they've been waiting their whole lives for something to shake up the established order. Kane pays them little attention, just walks through the capital streets one last time. He passes the Adventurers Guild Hall, the building where thousands of aspiring heroes start their journeys. A young woman, maybe 16, watches him from the doorway. Her eyes track his movement with intensity. Not fear, calculation. Like she's memorizing everything about him. Kane pauses, looks at her directly, sees something in her expression. Determination, ambition, the same hunger he felt at her age. Just directed differently. She's not afraid of him. She's inspired. He nods slightly before continuing on, wondering if in 10 years, 20 years, she'll be strong enough to challenge him properly. If humanity can produce someone who might actually make him work for a victory. The capital fades behind him. Kane stands on the road leading into wilderness. In front of him, the world spreads vast and unknown. Unexplored territories, ancient ruins, sealed dungeons in distant lands. Challenges he hasn't imagined yet. The hunger pulses. Satisfied for now but never truly complete. Always looking ahead to the next meal, the next fight, the next absorption. But Kane is more than the hunger now. More than instinct and consumption. He's curiosity made manifest. Power-seeking purpose. A legend writing its own story. 1 month passes. The world adjusts to new reality. SSS-Class exists. The Devourer's heir walks free. Kingdoms mobilize their forces not in aggression but in preparation, preparing for what comes next. The Academy has recovered from Kane's departure. Student attendance actually increased. Everyone wants to be where history happened, where the impossible became real. Ms. Thorne still works in the library. Sometimes she looks at Kane's old seat and wonders what signs she missed. The dungeon beneath the Academy remains sealed. Headmaster Valen personally oversaw new wards, stronger ones, not to keep things in, but to keep students out. The levels are empty now. Every core consumed, but the architecture remains, a monument to what was unleashed. In the capital, reconstruction continues. The throne room has been repaired. The 9 S-rank mages have recovered physically. Mentally is harder. Knowing you're obsolete shakes foundations. But Celine says it's liberating in a way. No longer pretending to be the strongest. Can focus on other things. Other goals. The Royal Guard captain who stood his ground has become unexpectedly famous. Songs are being written about the man who faced the Devourer and survived through conviction, alone. He finds this embarrassing. Insists he just did his job. But recruitment for the Guard has tripled since that day. And Kane. Where is he now? Reports come from everywhere. Sightings across the continent. The SSS-Class Dark Mage appeared in the northern wastes. Fought something ancient in the ice. In the southern jungles. Explored ruins no expedition has returned from. In the western ocean. Dove to depths that crush normal humans. Each story adds to the legend. Each confirmation of his survival makes the mythology grow. Some stories are certainly exaggerated, but enough are verified to paint a picture. He's searching for something, testing himself against everything the world can offer. But there's something else happening. Something most don't know yet. In a sealed chamber deep beneath the Magic Council's headquarters, emergency meetings occur weekly. Because Kane isn't the only change. His awakening sent ripples through reality. The seal on the dungeon wasn't the only one weakening. Across the world, in 6 other locations, ancient prisons are failing. The Devourer wasn't the only thing sealed, away after the Age of Darkness. Just the most dangerous. But now the seals are cracking, and what lies beneath is stirring. The Council knows. The oldest mages who remember history rather than just study it They know what's coming. What always comes when SSS-Class power awakens. Competition. Opposition. Forces that make even Kane's abilities look human. One counselor, ancient enough to have seen the last SSS-Class centuries ago, says what everyone's thinking. They thought Kane was the crisis, the thing they needed to prepare for and potentially stop. But he's not the crisis. He's the warning. Far to the east, in mountains. No map names. Something opens eyes that have been closed for 300 years, senses a familiar presence in the world. A bloodline it thought eradicated. A power it thought destroyed. The original Devourer's contemporary stirs. Not a descendant. Not an heir. The actual thing. Sealed when it couldn't be killed. Waiting for its ancient rival's bloodline to awaken and break the stalemate. It begins to move. Slowly. Carefully. Testing seals that have weakened. Finding gaps. Planning its emergence. And when it finally breaks free, when it walks the world again, it will seek the thing wearing the Devourer's power, not to destroy it, not to consume it, but to determine which one deserves to exist, the original or the heir, the ancient or the new. Kane doesn't know this yet, doesn't sense the attention focusing on him from multiple directions. He's too busy exploring, learning, growing, enjoying his freedom and power. But the hunger that lives in his chest, that constant companion, suddenly spikes, sharp, urgent, like a warning. Like recognition of something that exists specifically to oppose it. He pauses mid-step, in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by wilderness, and looks to the east. Doesn't know why, can't explain the certainty, but something is coming. Something that makes even his SSS-Class power feel insufficient. Kane smiles. That predatory expression that's become his default. Because this is what he wanted. What the hunger craved beyond simple consumption. A real challenge, a genuine threat. Something that might actually push him to his limits. The world trembles on the edge of something vast. A conflict that makes the battle at the capital look like a warm-up. Forces that operated during the Age of Darkness preparing to clash again. And, at the center of it all, a boy who was once the weakest. Who climbed from F rank to SSS-Class through hunger and determination. Who broke every rule and rewrote every hierarchy. He's ready. Has been ready since the moment he touched that first monster core in the dungeon's darkness. Everything since then has been preparation. Training. Becoming what he needed to be. The age of ordinary mages is over. The age of legends has returned. And Kane Devourer Blood, the SSS-Class Dark Mage who devoured every monster in the secret Academy dungeon, stands at the threshold of something even he can't fully comprehend. His story is far from over. In many ways, it's just beginning. The hunger pulses. Anticipating. Knowing. Something wonderful and terrible is coming. And Kane can't wait to devour it.